Innovation Minister defines Supercluster following critical report. Innovation Minister Nav Bains is seeking to pump enthusiasm back into the government's Supercluster program following a report from the parliamentary spending watchdog that says the effort is falling short on its promise. The superclusters, which fuse public and private money, seek to connect businesses, academic institutions, and other non-profits for research projects that spur innovation and economic growth. Projects funded through the 5 supercluster sectors: artificial intelligence, manufacturing, agriculture, sea transport, and digital technology have generated 6,100 jobs across more than 220 approved projects, Bain said at a virtual showcase for the program Wednesday. More than half of the supercluster partners are small or medium-sized companies, giving small businesses access to cutting-edge research, highly skilled talent, and helping them scale up, he said. Baines also stressed the program's potential of a 5 to 10 years timeline following a performance that has failed to live up to expectation so far. The parliamentary budget officer projected earlier this month that only about 4,000 jobs would be created by the $918 million endeavor, far short of the targeted 25,000. The program is unlikely to meet its broader spending and economic growth goals, Yale's Jerax said. Jerax also said the department overseeing the program could not provide specific ways to measure the boosts in innovation that the spending is to provide, echoing a concern from the Council of Canadian Innovators about a lack of clear metrics and a strategy to commercialize any developments. The Council argues the superclusters fail to help return intellectual property developed through public funding. Our members have told us that the supercluster program is difficult to navigate and does not help them grow their companies, Benjamin Burden, the Council's executive director, said in an email. The best way to achieve the targets set by the government at the inception of this program in 2017 would be to pivot and inject this funding directly into Canada's high-growth, innovative companies who already have a proven track record of commercializing research, driving innovation, and creating good jobs for Canadians. Julian Ballard, chief executive of the Scale AI Supercluster, took issues with characterization of the program as lackluster or unproductive. What we see is real collaborations, real proof of collaboration across industry, startups, and universities, Ballard said in a phone interview. He acknowledged that it is too early to declare victory. but also too soon to lose faith in a program that seeks advances in everything from underwater robotics data acquisition to plant-based protein products. Bain highlighted the role of Supercluster affiliated companies in the fight against the COVID-19 pandemic, with 3 of the 5 superclusters having shifted their focus in response to the crisis. The BC-based digital technology supercluster invested recently in a machine learning chest X-ray tool that helps doctors identify lung abnormalities. The device, developed by quantum computing company IQBIT in partnership with healthcare organizations, is set for deployment across the country at an urgent moment, he said. Another project by Montreal-based Alaya Labs relies on algorithm to minimize the number of interactions by long-term care workers and reduce potential exposure to the novel coronavirus. The government insists that international projections show the supercluster program is on track to hit its 50,000 jobs promise. The Parliamentary Budget Official's October 6 report, however, stated that it seems highly unlikely Ottawa will hit its target of boosting Canada's GDP by roughly $50 billion. Lifestyle Canadian casino CEO fired after a $700,000 mistake. If you live in Canada and want to earn some extra money easily, then this may be the most exciting article you'll ever read. Trusted online casino operator Europa Casino Institution, Nasdaq CSNRM, has made a costly mistake after launching their online casino in Canada that caused the company to lose hundreds of thousands of dollars to its players. This glitch has already lost them close to $700,000 in free spins and cash prizes, and the loss is going to continue to increase until October 29, 2020, when their new customer agreement takes effect. What exactly happened? Michael Maggi, an experienced casino player from Pretoria, who was one of the first players to discover the loophole, explains. Europa Casino new promotional campaign for new customers in Canada was supposed to give up to $240 bonus to all new customers that deposited at least $10 into their account. Unfortunately for them, they had a wording error in the agreement, so each new customer who deposits at least $10 gets up to $2,400 for free credits based on the amount of their first deposit. As a result, people are using the free credits and hitting jackpots that are costing Europa Casino heavily. What is making matters even worse for the company is that there is no way for them to fix it due to the strict gambling laws in Canada, which require casino companies to notify at least 7 days in advance before changing their terms and conditions. So getting these bonuses for free is completely legal. thousands of winners. One company's mistake can be incredibly profitable for everyone else. One lucky woman, 26 years old, Laura Spencer from Toronto, registered with Europa Casino and claimed the free credits. After using just $23 of spins, she won the progressive jackpot of $75,000. I used to dread waking up each morning and going to a job that I hate, all to just be able to cover my rent and bills. Now I have so much freedom. New CEO, Europa Casino CEO in Canada, Peter Newstad, was fired immediately after the incident, and the new manager, Hayden Corner, has a lot of fixing to do. Corner responded to our inquiry via email. This has been a very unfortunate and costly mistake for the company, but we have to learn from it and move on. The Canadian market is very important to us, and we are here to stay even after this costly error for the company. Here is how Canadians are claiming their free money. 1. They sign up on the Europa Casino page. 2. They will make a small deposit of at least $10 and then use the free credits they receive to win money without a risk of losing or completely legal. As of 29 October 2020, the free bonus loophole at Europa Casino is still available. Europa Casino's new customer agreement will become active on 29 October 2020, and this loophole can no longer be used. Toronto, a contentious requirement that would be liver transplant recipients stay away from alcohol for 6 months could be scrapped, according to a new recommendation before the agency that runs Ontario's organ transplant system. In a letter announcing the proposed change, a lawyer for the Trillium Gift of Life Network said the recommendation comes from a committee overseeing a still running 3-year pilot project. The recommendation, which comes amid 2 lawsuits challenging the constitutionality of the 6 months abstaining rule, is subject to further levels of approval, but appears likely to be adopted in mid-November, the letter stated. As such, the constitutionality of the 6 months abstinence requirement has currently drifted in the listing criteria may become moot, the letter states. According to draft eligibility criteria now under consideration, patients with alcohol-associated liver disease, ALD, could be considered for liver transplantation. These patients must be carefully assessed for higher risk of return to problematic alcohol use to help ensure optimum outcomes in addition to meeting standard transplant listing and contraindication criteria according to the draft. While the proposal has yet to be adopted, a lawyer for the mother of a now deceased man called the recommendation to do away with the mandatory 6 months abstinence a huge and welcome step. This is a super positive development, Elsa Tomskin said. All that this is doing is really bringing Ontario into line with other provinces. The Trillium Gift of Life Network, which rations scarce organs from dead donors based on need has not generally allowed people with livers damaged by alcohol to receive transplants unless they had been dry for at least 6 months. The criterion does not apply to transplants from living donors. Nevertheless, the University Health Network, the only hospital that does liver donor transplants, refused to do the surgery on Mark Williams, who died in May last year. Tom Skeen said it was not yet clear what impact the change and the proposed criteria might have on the ongoing constitutional challenge to the pilot project and the 6 months abstinence rule. They still talk about a period of abstinence, and it's not set at 6 months, but it still seems to be there in some form. Tom Skeen said, so we still have to analyze to make sure that that period of abstinence isn't discriminatory. Deborah Sikora, whose husband Mark Sikora died in 2010 before receiving a new liver, challenged the constitutional validity of the policy as a violation of the right to life and equality. Sikora's estate further argued he was subject to cruel and unusual treatment. Sikora said she was unimpressed by the latest developments, saying the proposal to end the 6 months waiting period appeared to be an excuse to dismiss or delay the constitutional fight. The wait is ending, but the discrimination continues, Sikora said on Wednesday. I will not stop fighting until ALD patients are assessed like everyone else without targeting their disease as an excuse to reject them. Dubai, United Arab Emirates. Iran has begun construction at its Natanz nuclear facility. Satellite images released Wednesday show just as the UN nuclear agency acknowledged Tehran is building an underground advanced centrifuge assembly plant after its last one exploded in a reported sabotage attack last summer. Sabotaged. The construction comes as the U.S. near Election Day in a campaign pitting President Donald Trump, whose maximum pressure campaign against Iran has led Tehran to abandon all limits on its atomic program, and Joe Biden, who has expressed a willingness to return to the accord. The outcome of the vote likely will decide which approach America takes. Heightened tensions between Iran and the U.S. nearly ignited a war at the start of the year. Since August, Iran has built a new or regraded road to the source of Natanz, toward what analysts believe is the former firing range for security forces at the enrichment facility. Images from San Francisco-based Planet Labs Institution show a Planet Lab image Monday shows the site cleared away with what appears to be construction equipment there, while an October 21st image from Maxa Technologies shows trucks, cars, backhoes, and other vehicles at the cleared site. Analysts from the Jimmy Martin Center for Non-Proliferation Studies at the Middlebury Institute of International Studies say they believe the site is undergoing excavation. That road also goes into the mountains, so it may be the fact that they are digging some kind of structure that's going to be out in front and that there's going to be a tunnel in the mountains, said Jeffrey Lewis, an expert at the institute who studies Iran's nuclear programs. Or maybe that they are just going to bury it there. Rafael Grossi, the Director General of the International Atomic Energy Agency, told the Associated Press on Tuesday that his inspectors were aware of the construction. He said Iran had previously informed the IAEA inspectors, who continue to have access to Iran's sites despite the country having moved away from many limits of its landmark 2015 nuclear deal with world power, known as the Joint Comprehensive Plan of Action, or JCPOA. They have started, but it's not completed. It's a long process, Grossi said. Ali Marihad Fee, a spokesman for the Iranian mission to the United Nations, would not comment on the satellite images or discuss specifics of the construction, but said Iran was being transparent with its actions. Nothing in Iran regarding its peaceful nuclear programs is being done in secret, in full keeping with the JCPOA and as the IAEA has repeatedly confirmed, Mira Sifa said in an email. This instance is no different, he said. Ali Al-Khabt, the head of the Atomic Energy Organization of Iran, last month told state television the destroyed above-ground facility was being replaced with one in the heart of the mountains around Natanz. Trump in 2018 unilaterally withdrew the U.S. from the JCPOA deal, Iran, in which Tehran agreed to limit its uranium enrichment in exchange for the lifting of economic sanctions. When the U.S. ramped up sanctions, Iran gradually and publicly abandoned those limits as a series of escalating incidents pushed the two countries to the brink of war at the beginning of the year. Iran now enriches uranium to up to 4.5% purity, and according to the last IAEA report, had a stockpile of 2,105 kilograms, 2.32 tons. Experts typically say 1,050 kilograms of low-enriched uranium is enough material to be enriched up to weapon-grade level of 90% purity for one nuclear weapon. Grossi told the Associated Press, however, that the IAEA's current estimate is that Iran does not yet have enough to produce a weapon. Iran's so-called breakout time, the time needed for it to build one nuclear weapon if it chooses to do so, is estimated now by outside experts to have dropped from 1 year under the deal to as little as 3 months. Iran maintains its nuclear program is for peaceful purposes, though Western countries fear Tehran could use it to pursue atomic weapons. Natanz built underground to harden it against the airstrikes long has been at the center of those fears since its discovery in 2002. Centrifuges there still spin in vast halls under 7.6 meters of concrete. Air defense positions surround the facility in Iran's central Isfahan province. Despite being one of the most secure sites in Iran, Natanz was targeted by the Starnex computer virus, believed to be the creation of the US and Israel before the nuclear deal. In July, a fire and explosion struck a advanced centrifuge assembly facility in an incident Iran later described as sabotage. Suspicion has fallen on Israel despite a claim of responsibility by a previously unheard of group. There have been tensions with the IAEA and Iran even at Natanz, with Tehran accusing one inspector of testing positive for explosive last year. However, so far, inspectors have been able to maintain their surveillance, something Lewis described as very important. As long as they declared to the IAEA in the proper time frame, there's no prohibition on putting things underground. He said, for me, the real red line would be if the Iranians started to stonewall the IAEA. For now, it remains unclear how deep Iran will put this new facility, and while the sabotage will delay Iran in assembling new centrifuges, Lewis warned the program ultimately would regroup as it had before and continue accumulating ever more material beyond the scope of the abandoned nuclear deal. We buy ourselves a few months, he said, but what good is a new month if we don't know what we are going to use it for? Fishermen in the Caribbean are calling for a state of emergency to be declared after evidence emerged of an sinking oil tanker off the coast of Venezuela, threatening to spill over 1.3 million barrels of oil into the ocean. Provided by National Post, the Nabarima Floating Storage and Offloading (FSO) facility, operated by the PetroSource joint venture between Venezuelan state oil company Petróleos de Venezuela and Italian Eni, is seen tilted in the Parrio Gulf between Venezuela and Trinidad and Tobago, October 16, 2020. The Nabarima, a Venezuelan tanker partly operated by Italian energy giant Eni, was first noticed to be tilting in July. By August, crews discovered that water was leaking into the ship, threatening to sink it. She is in very poor condition, tweeted Addis Girout, the head of the Unitary Federation of Petroleum Workers of Venezuela in August 31st, warning that the tanker held about 9 feet of water in her lower decks. Photos with the post show flooding in various sections of the interior of the vessel. Last month, Gary Abond, who represents a fishing community in Trinidad, got close enough to the tankers to show the gravity of the risk to the entire southern Caribbean. What we found was threatening, about said in a video posted online on September 7th. The tanker appeared to be tilting at an angle of 25 degrees, about said in the video, while pointing at the ship just a few feet away from him. Currently, the ship is held in place by anchor chains, although it isn't clear how strong the chains are and how long they will be able to control the tanker. The chains aren't enough, About said, adding that the poor weather could cause the tanker to flip. The situation could also be exacerbated by a particularly active 2020 tropical cyclone season, which has already seen 28 cyclones, 11 hurricanes, and 4 major hurricanes. In his video, About criticized Trinidad and Tobago government officials for a lack of response to the situation, which has now been ongoing for 3 months. An oil spill of this magnitude could wreck the livelihoods of over 50,000 local fishermen who rely on the sea, cause long-term ecological harm to the biodiversity in the nearby coral reef, and pose a broader regional risk, Forbes reported. This requires national emergency, About said. I'm calling on the government of Trinidad and Tobago to wake up and do something. International maritime reports have also been calling for action since early September. The Trinidad and Tobago Guardian reported, and government officials have asked for verification from Venezuelan officials on the status of the tanker. In early September, Trinidad and Tobago Energy Minister Franklin Han noted that the initial reports from Venezuelan authorities described the vessel to be in upright and stable condition. The Energy Ministry, through the Venezuelan Embassy, has offered any assistance, technical or logically, to the government of Venezuela that it might require. Also, the Minister of Energy is in contact with his Venezuelan counterpart for further updates as they become available, a spokesman for Han stated. According to Han, Trinidad and Tobago and Venezuela have a bilateral agreement which includes an oil spill contingency plan. In the event of a genuine risk exists or an active spill occurs, this is the agreement that will govern the action of the government, he said. Should the spill occur, it will be the fourth major oil spill from Venezuela in the past 3 months. In early September, fishermen and experts confirmed that oil was leaking into the sea near Falcon State in northeast Venezuela from a cracked underwater pipeline linked to the attempts to restart fuel production at a refinery. The month before, photos showed beaches and mangroves around Macros National Park on the west central Venezuela coast, sleeked in oil. The image quickly gained traction online before local officials said a clean-up effort was taking place. Research released 2 weeks later by Simon Boyle University attributed the oil spill to the incompetence of state authority working at the nearby EI Pali-2 refinery, located 66 kilometers south of the park.